5 things we learned on Friday at the Chinese Grand Prix. F1 2025 Lewis Hamilton on pole with Ferrari. Verstappen unsettled. McLaren slipping up. Mercedes showing signs of life. And Gabriel Bortoleto once again proving he belongs. Friday in Shanghai gave us more than expected. Not just a surprising sprint grid, but plenty of insight through driver reactions and key team decisions. Before we dive in, you know what to do. Drop a like, comment your sprint winner prediction, and subscribe to Paddock Insider so you never miss a beat this wild season. Let's not sugarcoat it. What Lewis Hamilton did in Shanghai was a statement, not just to his critics, but to his own team. After a disastrous debut in Australia, struggling with pace, poor strategy, dashboard issues, and tense radio exchanges, things looked bleak. And then came Shanghai. At a circuit where he's won 6 times and taken 6 poles, Lewis reminded everyone why he's still one of the greats. In SQ3, under pressure, on soft tires, he delivered a flawless lap, 1:30.849, just 0.018 seconds ahead of Verstappen, but enough to put Ferrari on top and leave the paddock stunned. More than just the time, it was the manner. Hamilton stayed calm, extracted everything from the SF25, and laughed in disbelief over the radio with Riccardo Adami. I didn't expect this result, but I'm really happy and proud. This wasn't just a comeback, it was a psychological blow. Inside Ferrari, it may have shifted the team dynamic, and outside it proved Hamilton is still a title contender, if Ferrari gives him the car. The 4-time world champion will start P2 for the sprint, but didn't sound too pleased. I don't think we should have been on the front row today. That says a lot. Max Verstappen is doing in 2025 what he once did before Red Bull domination, carrying the team on his own. And now, for the first time in years, he's doing it without a superior car. All weekend, the RB21 has looked off the pace. Unstable in slow corners, inconsistent traction, and generally lacking bite. Meanwhile, Lawson ended up dead last. A clear sign that the car has problems, not just the drivers. And yet, Max dug deep and delivered a lap worthy of the front row. It wasn't enough to beat Hamilton, but it was the kind of effort only a driver of his caliber could manage. The question is, how long can Red Bull rely on Verstappen alone to keep them in the fight? Because at this rate, even Max might start hitting a ceiling. Heading into qualifying, McLaren looked sharp. Strong pace, consistency, and 2 informed drivers. Everyone expected a front row lockout. Then SQ3 arrived, and it all went wrong. Oscar Piastri did well enough to secure 3rd place, but didn't maximize the car. And Lando Norris, championship leader, made 2 costly mistakes. One in the final sector, one at turn 13, and fell down the order. "We just weren't quick enough," said Norris. "The grip wasn't there," added Piastri. The issue? McLaren has the fastest car, but the margin for error is tiny. When the setup isn't perfect, it unravels. P5 and P6 for a team tipped to dominate the weekend? That's more than a missed opportunity. It's a wake-up call. Another concern, how does the MCL39 behave in traffic? They led from the front in Melbourne. But with Hamilton and Verstappen ahead, Sunday could be an entirely different challenge. Dropping big points here could shake confidence and momentum. Mercedes aren't back yet, but for the first time in 2025, there's something to be optimistic about. George Russell qualified 5th, Kimi Antonelli 7th. Decent, yes, but what stood out was their race simulation pace on Friday. Despite struggling with the new asphalt and Shanghai's tricky low-speed sections, both cars looked surprisingly consistent over longer runs, even compared to McLaren. Russell raised a red flag, though. "I went from outside the top 10 to P2 without changing anything." That's not encouraging. It suggests the team still can't properly read the car. But if they manage to unlock that consistency across full stints, Mercedes could quietly re-enter the fight. Midfield action has rarely been this compelling. And once again, Gabriel Bortoleto delivered. The Brazilian rookie outqualified Nico Hülkenberg for the second time, reached Q2 again, and will start 14th, a result that may not jump off the page, but one that screams raw talent and consistency. He said he felt more comfortable than in Melbourne, and that's what matters. Progress in F1 is everything, and right now Bortoleto is ticking all the right boxes. Meanwhile, Albon took Sainz to school again, dragging the Williams into Q3, and Oliver Bearman put in a fantastic lap to outqualify Ocon in a Haas that had no business being that quick. These midfield duels aren't just entertaining, they're starting to tell stories about the future of F1. And Bortoleto, he might be leading that charge sooner than expected. Let's be brutally honest. What we saw in Shanghai wasn't just an unusual Friday. It was a red flag for the assumptions we've all made about 2025. Lewis Hamilton, at 40, is driving like a man with something to prove, and maybe something to win. If Ferrari actually listens to him and builds around him instead of politics, this could be the start of one of the most unexpected comebacks we've seen in the sport. And if that happens, Leclerc will have to fight for relevance inside his own team. That internal battle might be the most underrated storyline of the season. Meanwhile, Verstappen is starting to look human. Don't get me wrong, he's still phenomenal. But when Max says, we shouldn't even be on the front row, that's not humility. That's frustration. He's carrying the team again, just like 2020. And here's the hot take. If Red Bull doesn't fix this car fast, we might see Verstappen crack under pressure for the first time in years. McLaren, still the fastest overall, but they flinched. And in a title fight, the moment you show weakness, the wolves start circling. Piastri's raw pace is there, but Norris, if he wants to be a world champion, he can't afford more days like today. Especially not when he's got Hamilton breathing down his neck and Verstappen ready to capitalize on any mistake. Mercedes, well, let's not get carried away, but they're creeping back quietly, carefully. And if Antonelli keeps rising and Russell finally finds consistency, they could become the wild card of this championship. Not title favorites, yet, but definitely title disruptors. And let's not ignore the midfield. Bortoleto, Bearman, Albon. These guys aren't just making up the numbers. They're embarrassing established names. Sainz being outqualified by a Williams twice in a row. Ocon being beaten by a rookie in a Haas. This isn't just a blip, it's a shift. The next generation isn't knocking anymore. They're kicking the door down. So where does that leave us? Hamilton might actually be Ferrari's best chance since 2019. Verstappen looks less like the hunter and more like the hunted. McLaren has the best car, but maybe not the strongest mindset. Mercedes could become kingmakers if not contenders. And the midfield? It's a battlefield. And guess what? That was just Friday. If you thought the sprint was going to be a throwaway session, think again. The tension is real. The rivalries are flaring. And this season just went from interesting to potentially iconic. So stick around, because if this is how the Chinese GP started, Sunday could be chaos. Now tell us in the comments, who wins the sprint? Who's in trouble? And is this the year Ferrari finally stops sabotaging itself? And don't forget, like the video, subscribe to Paddock Insider, and turn on notifications. Because F1 this year isn't just fast, it's unpredictable, political, and personal.